Hi there. I wanted to say a few words today about sex and our safe relationship toolbox. And you may want to have a little look at the sex series over there as well. 30 videos on there before you go. If you're interested in this subject as far as maintaining our safe relationship toolbox and staying safe in our relationships. And today I wanted to highlight really having this awareness of how sex can be used to have in our safe relationship toolbox for the future, so that we remain more consciously aware of that area, because sex is often an area where an abuser can come in because there is such a lot of casuality at the moment going on the dating scene. Then an abuser can use that in order to enter into a situation with you, in order to set up an abusive situation further down the line, whether that's sexually abusive situation, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, or physically. And sometimes all those aspects are used together so that they solidify one another. So you'll often find emotional abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse coming in early on, however subtly, so that the person is groomed and conditioned to accept further abuse down the line, including possibly sexual abuse, which is quite often the case, used as a way to draw the victim back in line, either violently or through seductive measures. So I wanted to highlight this information today, so that we could have that in our safe relationship toolbox, and we can use that as a powerful tool in future. So one of the things that we need to bear in mind is that in order to set us up sexually, the sexual abuse, or to be used sexually, often our emotions are used and our psychology, so our mind may be used. We may be given lots of compliments. We may have our ego boosted. Someone may recognise that we feel quite insecure. They may use that. Some abusers don't really have a lot to be able to give in that department. I know there's a lot of talk about love bombing. It's not absolutely always the case that you get love bombing in the future, but you do get some form of temptation to draw us in. So it is often flattery and compliments and a sort of persona that's presented, that's a very likeable persona, or the mask, if you like. So we have a setup there where our emotions may very likely be used to draw us into a sexual scenario. A lot of compliments, made to feel very wonderful, hooking into the ego, so that we come to rely on this person for our ego strokes and for our own validation. So affirmation very often is used, particularly if the abuser can see that we are quite lacking in that department and we need that boost. Then we may come to rely on getting those ego needs met through this abuser, which means we become more dependent on it and more dependent on the abuser. And then we may open up more, of course, let down our guard, let the abuser in even more, and then it's not until it's too late and we're actually in an abusive situation that we see the mask slip and we see the real person come forth. And by then we may have been hooked into a sexually abusive situation. We may have suddenly experienced sexual abuse apparently out of nowhere, but it's because we've been groomed and we've been seduced into this situation. So it's quite useful to remain consciously aware of what's happening throughout the process, right from the beginning, right from the dating process in the beginning, right from the seduction stage, just to see really if there are boundaries that are being pushed, whether someone is trying to get you to relinquish your value system, get you to do something sexually that you're not really comfortable with, but you may want to keep this person in to the relationship. They may use subtle ways of abandonment or threatening abandonment by leaving, for instance, if you don't come up with the goods. And that sort of sends the message, well, you're going to need to give me what I want if you want me to stay around. And this is one of the reasons often that people withdraw very quickly, just to see what your reaction will be and whether you will chase. So I wanted to highlight some of these things today, just to sort of give you a heads up, really, to have a look at some of these early warning signs. Often the very subtle behaviours are the ones that we overlook in the beginning, but when we're more consciously aware, we then become more aware of the behaviour of other people as well, which is a really useful tool. So, staying safe sexually keeps us in the driving seat of our own life car, keeps us safer, and we build up our skills in these areas the more we use them as well. So I wanted to highlight sex in our Safe Relationship Toolbox today. And as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.